name is John Stott, and my birthday is November 22nd. And in 1944, I was finishing up high school, 12th grade, because we had midterm movements in the grades. But on my birthday, I had to go to the Selective Service office and sign in and ask for a deferment. And they said, fine, we'll defer you as long as you promise to enlist the day you graduate. So I signed that. Now, just today, I was looking at my records. I had thought it was on a Friday that I graduated. I think it still was on a Friday that I graduated, but I didn't get called up to the Selective Service office on Monday. I've checked it out, and it was a Thursday. And I want to show you what used to be made fun of in the 40s, because the Selective Service notice that you're going to be drafted starts out greeting. Do this. The joke was on comedian shows, so on and so forth. Greetings, you've been selected as a draftee, and so on. Of course, it wasn't that way at all, but they made a joke about it. I just wanted to verify it was greeting and not greetings. So I was supposed to meet at the Selective Service office at 6:30 a.m. on the 18th of January. I just looked it up, and that was a Thursday. We didn't do anything that day. There were 2 or 3 other fellows from high school that had graduated with me, and we just sat there. There were a whole bunch of people in this room, didn't do a thing, and we got lunch, and then I just sat there some more, and then they said, well, okay, quitting time, we're going to have you come back tomorrow. Okay. A little addition to this is the fact that I was in a young people's church group at the time, and they had wished me goodbye at a goodbye party Sunday night before. Well, here I am not going on Thursday, so they wish me goodbye Thursday night. Friday comes along, and I do get enlisted. But I was listed in the Army. The man said, U.S. Army, Fort Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. I said, oh, now, this is just between you and me. I used influence. I knew somebody who knew somebody, commander of the naval people in Oklahoma. And she asked him, she said, he wants to be in the Navy. Could you put a good word in for him? So after the guy stamped Army, I said, no, I think I'm supposed to be a Navy. Oh yeah, that's right. Stamped me in the Navy. Okay, and then I got sworn in on Friday. Had another goodbye party Friday night, but I did go to San Diego. I've got to say this. Winter in Oklahoma is not terrible at all. It's just cold, sometimes snowy and sleety. The train took us through southern states, and we got to San Diego by going down the El Cajon Pass down into San Bernardino. And the train tracks went right through orchards, and there were oranges on the trees. It was like springtime. Couldn't believe it. Of course, I thought California was a dream anyway. And we got to our Los Angeles, where we changed to go to the San Diego training base. A lot of things happened there. I did boot camp. Everybody got to go home on a boot leave, and I got my ticket paid to Oklahoma and back, and that was in April, I think it was. When I came back, I'd finished boot camp. I was just waiting to be assigned. Well, it turns out the Navy's very organized, and they had given us tests, one kind of test, another kind of test. And I thought I tested to go to radio man school, which would have been fine. I'd had to learn all about radio things. Waited a couple of weeks, just passing the time doing errands, cleaning up the base, and so on. Turns out I was going to go to yeoman school right there on the base. Loved that. Clerical things were fine with me. I'd taken typing in school, so on. Again, we're going to skip forward. I can't remember the number of months yeoman school was, but it was all good. San Diego was a wonderful place. We got liberty, and it was just fine. So we're getting closer and closer to end of school, August, and I want my parents to come out and see me graduate and then see me off to go to overseas. They didn't get to see my brother do that. He left from the East Coast. So I said, well, don't you want to see your younger son go off to war? Because it was still wartime. Well, okay, it's financially difficult for them, but they did come out because they had a place to stay with a friend. They didn't get to actually come witness the graduation, although I remember that they did, but I was looking in letters. They didn't. But we did get to tool around San Diego. Now, here's the thing. VJ Day happened, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. August something or other. But anyway, my folks were there, and I was going to go to San Bruno in preparation for shipping out to the Pacific. So I had a day in San Diego, a couple days in San Diego with my parents, and then we went up to Los Angeles. This is a very big story. We went out to Hollywood on the old streetcar. They didn't have the fancy stuff in those days. And while we were coming home, the streetcar window was open. You see no air conditioner or anything like that. And someone still celebrating VJ Day threw a pear. It was a pear in the window and hit me right in the eye. Oh, pain, pain, pain. So I stayed in the hotel room the next day. My folks did things, and they had a good time. I'm so glad they had a good time. Mother had a couple of things she wanted to do there, some friend to see. Then they saw me off. I didn't see them off back to Oklahoma. They saw me off up to San Francisco and San Bruno. And there's not a long story here, except that the reason for all of this is that a big organization like the Navy, they have to plan way ahead. They're moving thousands of people. And so they can't just say, well, so here I am, the war's over. I'm in San Francisco. San Bruno really was the camp. We had to go get green dungarees and green shirts and a rifle to carry because we were going to land on Tokyo Beach, Japan's beachhead. But we knew the war was over, so it didn't bother us too much. But anyway, we got to Treasure Island, spent the weekend on Treasure Island because the ship wasn't ready or something. And Treasure Island was really, I have to mention this. I love things like expositions, and I never have been to one, but I got to see what was left of Treasure Island. And there were the huge buildings with the huge statues and the fountains. Of course, inside was all Navy stuff now, but it still looked like a fairyland, like an enchanted land. I just loved it. Little did I know that when I came back, I'd go to Treasure Island again. In any case, my shipmates and I, my friends, who were all supposed to go land on the beaches of Japan, we got in our ship and went to Honolulu. One point about that is not so much the surf, I guess you'd call it the motion of the waves, is quite strong outside of San Francisco Harbor. And many, many people got seasick, and that's not nothing you want to see. They were hanging over the rail, they were grabbing buckets, all this. I got kind of queasy, but I didn't throw up. In any case, we went for 6 days, took 6 days to get to Honolulu, and that's when the military, the Navy, was able to say, stop, you're not going to land on it, Japan. I hate to say this, but the camp that we were located in, it was on the other side of Pearl Harbor. We had to go through Camp Hickman or whatever it was for the Army, and then across the entrance to Pearl Harbor, which is really quite narrow, and then over onto what was Barber's Point was something, I can't remember the name of the camp. And we didn't have anything to do. But in the military, there's always something to do to keep people's minds out of it. We did guard duty. We did cleanup, KP, all the little silly little things that have to be done. But we just were so happy to be in this balmy place with the palm trees. And we were near a beach. We could go swimming almost any time we wanted. Well, that's not true. When we were off duty. And when it came time for chow, we'd just go line up around the chow hall. First one in got the best. First one in got the best seat, got the best food, the best seat. And in addition to that good situation, still in the Navy, I can't do just as I please. I can't go walk any place I want to walk. We could go on liberty, which we did, to Waikiki Beach. And the Royal Hawaiian Hotel had been taken over as a USO. And you could stay there if you'd make plans properly, or maybe it was just for officers. I don't remember. But wow, what a difference. The Mauna Loa and the Royal one, the only two hotels on Waikiki Beach. But better than that, we found out that on the north side of Honolulu, the island of Oahu, there were hardly any tourists, hardly any Navy or anything, but it was beautiful beaches. There was little shack for food and snacks, nothing great. And so we went over there frequently, just took the bus around and played over there, had a great time. In addition to that, I'm extending this longer than I intended, but it doesn't matter too much. We'll get to the atomic bomb. But our leader, who saw us not doing much of anything, he couldn't stand it. He wanted us to have something to do. He didn't want to make do. So he planned trips. We went to a sugarcane factory and toured the sugarcane factory. There was also a beach. We had, not on the base, we had to take a military convoy to get there. That had a wonderful, wonderful riptide, I guess you'd call it. The water would come in like a big mountainous wave and then crash and then go back out. And somebody found out, well, you don't get caught by the undertow, it just throws you back onto the beach. So let's try it. That was wonderful. It was great fun, probably very dangerous. But we were allowed to go there under military supervision. And I went to teletype school, which was never used. Moving along, had my 2 months there. November comes along. Now we go in a Navy ship. The first ship had been Merchant Marine, and this is a Navy ship, and it's much better, it's much bigger, and we're going to China. We're going to Qingdao. The other half of my group, they went to Shenzhen. They went in another ship. So we're on the way. And I told Richard, and I forgot to look it up, which island we saw, which island from Hawaii would be in the way of getting there. I don't think it was Anahuac, but it might have been, or it might have been Wake Island. I kind of think it was Wake Island, but I'm not sure. In any case, we arrive at Qingdao, and we have to live in a Japanese barracks, which was not bad, except there was no shower. There was a great big heated pool in one end of the building where you take a sauna bath. But they told us, don't get in it. We can't clean it. So take water with your helmet and pour it over you. Again, moving on, I was transferred because they didn't have anything else for us to do. We landed on my birthday, by the way. We landed November 22nd, 1945. I turned 19. We had many adventures in Qingdao. It was not touched by either the Japanese-Chinese War or World War II. Just all there. It did have a large contingent of what you call White Russians. They had escaped the communist purge, lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, where Stalin took over. They had escaped that. And there was quite a large White Russian enclave in Qingdao. And they had a church. And at the time, as I said, I started out from a church group in Oklahoma, and I had met up with a young man who wanted to be a preacher. He wasn't a preacher, and he wanted to take me to this church, which he did. And they were wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to us. Gave us a meal from time to time, just wonderful, and did not proselytize at all. But I liked it a lot. Anyway, a couple more things before we get to the atomic bomb situation, back to the atomic bomb situation. My unit, I was on LCS L3, I think it was. I should look that up. Very small ship. It was a ship, not a boat. Very small ship. But it had rockets on it. That was its job. If it had been in the war, they would have shot rockets. And we got, I don't know what you call it. We were sent to Mokpo, Korea, on the southern end of Korea. Some kind of guard or something. I don't know. There wasn't anything going on over there. But I was in Korea. Then we came back and we went to Shanghai. Far different from what it is now. Again, no touch of any damage from any war of any kind. Business as usual. Okay. Back to my escaping the atomic bomb. As you know, the atomic bomb was August 6th. I was still in San Diego. My parents hadn't come yet, because, well, that ended the war, so we didn't know the war was ended. They were going to come about my graduation, which was kind of the same time. But in my mind, and I'm going to come out and say it, the atomic bomb saved my life, which is very selfish. I was just reading 500,000 in Hiroshima and 70,000, I think it was, in Nagasaki. And you can blame the Japanese all you want for being intransigent and so on. And of course, war is terrible anyway. But if the war hadn't stopped, I had my little spade and my green uniform. I wanted to show you something here. I think this is the best one. Okay, this patch here is orange and yellow and red. No, yellow and red, I'm sorry. That stands for amphibians. That means we had to work on land and sea. And that's why we were going to land, because we were amphibs. Don't get it confused with Seabees. The Seabees were the construction battalion. In any case, that's what we were going to do. We were going to land on the shores of Japan somehow and invade them. And the atomic bomb, in my mind, stopped all that. I've been in discussions whether, the Japanese were all ready to surrender. You can believe whatever you believe. I believe that the atomic bomb stopped the war and therefore stopped me from having to invade Japan. I look back on my Navy service as very enjoyable. Some people just hated boot camp because it's very, very regular, by the clock, by the order. And there are people, young men, that they had never lived like that. They just complained and complained. Oh, it was fine. Good food. It really was good food. And things. We had to get up at 6 o'clock, so that's kind of early. But in any case, that was fine. And what was I going to show? Oh, I wanted to show my parents. Where's the camera? There it is. That's when I'm home on leave in 1945. My father, my mother, looking fondly at me, and me. My puppy dog is around there somewhere. There's another picture just like this, but she was squirming so much, finally Mother grabbed her and held on to her. So that's not as good a picture as this one. I also have my discharge papers. I can't tell. I think it reads everything backwards, but this is a discharge. And that was in 6th of August, 1946. So I wasn't in a full 2 years, and I'm finishing and coming to a conclusion now. I don't think I would be here if it hadn't been for the atomic bomb. But I am here, and I was there when we came back. Again, uh, we could have just followed the rules and they would have sent me to Oklahoma to be discharged. But I said I'd like to be discharged in California because I loved California. And I had a buddy from Oklahoma who had relatives in Los Angeles. So we did a little touring. We went to Carmel, and then we went to LA and so on, and flew home. In those days, that was something. Flew through Denver. My discharge was the 6th day of August, 1946. Well, I hadn't been paying much attention to what went on back home. And my brother went to college, but he had to pay his own way because we didn't have any money. And he worked part-time to do that. And I was going to do that too. But August 1946, go to college, doesn't it start right away? Well, it did pretty much start right away. But there was the GI Bill, another wonderful piece of legislation. I couldn't have gone to college the way I did if it hadn't been for the GI Bill. So some other people were going down to OU, 20 miles south of Oklahoma City, to enroll. I said, "Come on." I said, "Well, I'm not. I don't have what you're supposed to." "No, you just come." And it turned out they wanted us so bad. This is the dark side of the GI Bill, because the college got money for taking veterans, and they always wanted money. The transmogrification of the campus in the 4 years I was there until I graduated, added buildings, took the veterans building, it was temporary, put it in a permanent building, and so on. So it was very nice. But anyway, just got under the wire to go to college. And I thank you for listening, and I've enjoyed this more than I thought I would.